Hey, hello there everybody, and welcome back to MegaMan Legends 2,
Alright, I'll
the
spot for you,
finale.
MegaMan. I know Elysium like the back of my hand.
This one's a rather long one. There's a decent amount of cutscenes. Elysium isn't exactly small. I did cut out some things where I was running in circles because I wasn't making it to the right doors. It was just some wasted time here and there. I tend to find that things in here have way too much HP. I'm running, max attack, and while I'm not running max rapid or anything, it takes quite a few hits.
If you increase the relative gravity, you should be able to break through it.
I do think it's funny that there are parts where they're just like, yeah, just make yourself heavier, and then you'll fall through the floor. I didn't go back to do that.
What you see in front of you is a gravity field. The relative gravity on the other side of the entrance is heavier. You should remember all this, MegaMan.
But this thing in particular has so much HP, and it just drops these every few seconds. The things that drop doesn't have a lot of HP, but I guess one of the good things about them is that you get to farm back all your weapon energy, basically. But those have quite a bit of HP, and there's a couple of rooms, I believe, with 4 of them in it, and that becomes slightly hectic, especially with them dropping more enemies. The fact that the target lock system is a little bit janky. I'm still not sure if there's a particular reason these things show up, but there's a decent amount of those in Elysium as well, and I just wish that they would stop. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing I can do about them, so they just appear, drain a bunch of your health, and then, I mean, it's not like they give me a second to destroy them later, and it doesn't seem like they go away. Like, if I run over that exact same spot, the thing is there again, and drains more of my HP. It's basically just like, don't go directly there. But so many of the rooms here, in my opinion, look so, familiar, or look so similar. And there's an issue I had with it. I ran around a lot because doors would be locked. And I wasn't thinking about the fact that you have to defeat all the enemies in the room before the door unlocks. It just didn't seem like a thing, and I think when I go back to this gravity changing door over here, it's either this one or another one tells me that the door's locks can be unlocked by changing the gravity, which makes no sense to me. But once I see that, I'm like, doesn't that mean that I'm just trying to do that? And so many of the doors are actually just locked by enemies being in them.
You can also use that control panel to download information about Elysium.
So I am going to speed through a little bit of this because I was like, I lowered the gravity and then I just sat there jumping up and down on the platforms that are raised, hoping that would do something. And it's nothing major. I was like, these are here for a reason, right? They got like that cut up like quarter pattern on them, and I'm like, jumping on them to do something? I guess not. I'm not really sure why they're here. Go back and make it normal gravity, and then go through the door and continue. So yeah, as far as I can tell, those platforms that are raised don't have any particular use. Maybe they're just there so that I can jump up on them and not have to deal with certain enemies, but now that I've run through that, the lasers, it is now higher gravity, even though I'd set it to normal gravity. And it's kind of running through these hallways. It is one of my least favorite enemies here. You have to get so close to them so that they shoot out their arms, which makes them vulnerable. I don't understand that at all, honestly. And I can kill like 2 to 3 of the arms really quickly with my missiles. Honestly, I'm not even entirely sure why these like golden crab things are here. I don't know what the heck they are. They flip over and then they're vulnerable. You almost never get close enough to actually be charged by them. They're not like directly around a corner. And this isn't like the Nino ruins where you're in water and therefore too slow to move around. But there was that message I was thinking about. It wasn't from one of the panels. It says that the door is locked and it has something to do with the gravity settings. How would, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I believe that there are parts where, like, you have to go through with normal gravity, but they have the lasers. So you have to like go around, because the room right outside of here, or the hallway right outside of here is like a square. And on the north side, they have the lasers, so you have to avoid those to go a certain way. And of course, whenever I come across one of these panels for downloading item or map data, I'm gonna take it. There's literally no reason not to. And I definitely do a little bit of cutting here because I did that thing again where I go out of the room, I fight the enemies that are out there. Or I go for the door first. It's locked. It doesn't have to do with the gravity, even though I literally just got told that sometimes the lock have something to do with the gravity. It's because the enemies in here respawn every time you go into the room to change the gravity, and the enemies being in the room lock the door, which I don't particularly care for. So these guys are very much like the spider at the very beginning of MegaMan Legends 1. They drop bombs, they'll sometimes come down to the floor, but they'll stay on the floor once you knock them down. And with max attack power, you can almost kill them before they flip over and start shooting bubbles at you. I don't know why they go from dropping bombs to spitting bubbles. But the bubbles also make the Reaverbot seeing you sound. So if they start shooting out bubbles, even after you've defeated the Reaverbots, if there's a bubble still on screen, the green little eye below MegaMan's health bar will become red, and you'll hear the like the beep of you being spotted. Again, it's kind of a weird thing. I'm not really sure why that's a choice they made. And I didn't think about it as I came around here the first time, but with the lowered gravity, you just jump over the wall where that chest is. God damn these things, please stop. I think I hit that one like one or two more times too. God. So because I'm a dummy, I change it to normal gravity. I walk back to that wall, or like where the chest is, where it's encircled in that like force field. I look up and I'm like, I wonder if I could jump up that. And then I end up going back and changing gravity back to lower gravity so I can attempt to jump in there. And yeah, that's... If I hadn't changed the gravity to normal, I could have just jumped up there in the first place. But it wasn't my immediate thought. again, I'm like, why do these things stay here? Why are they... Just why? Why do those exist? Please tell me. So, now I'm finally gonna go jump over that wall. I believe I said earlier that I did not go back to the very beginning, where, you can make the gravity higher so that you can fall through the floor. Because I had not... I mean, by the time I got to the first thing where I could change gravity, I'd already basically forgotten that that floor existed. So... I think there's another part where you have to do that, but it's like I get to a room with it, and I can see that there's a chest in the room, like, because I have the map data, or the item data. And I'm like, oh, well, I might as well, like, it's either I walk through some lasers that are literally in the next room and then I turn around, or I change the gravity. But I think it's kind of weird that just walking through the lasers, like, permanently changes you to heavy until you get to a new panel to change the gravity. Because it just says, like, on the other side, the gravity is higher. But if I just walk through it and then I walk back, the gravity is still higher on me. So that's obviously not how that works. There's just like a checkbox, walked through gravity field or something. On MegaMan in Elysium, I guess. There are a few rooms in here with, like, those giant, almost rectangular platforms in the middle. I have not figured out what those are either. You can jump up on them, but there's nothing to do when you're on top of them. There are no items hidden up there, as far as I can tell. So, I'm like, why is that in the middle there? Maybe they had some hidden items there, like the holes in the wall that I just missed because I wasn't inspecting them hard enough. I was just like, why is this here? And I'd jump on top of it and nothing would happen. So, and there's nothing on top of it. And I get to deal with some more of these enemies. The floor is lava here, and God, I hate these things so much. And there are a ton of those in Elysium for no reason whatsoever. There's another one of those square hallways. It's got one of these in each corner, or on like the two opposite corners. So that's where that flaming one came from. With another one of those guys dropping them. And as I come up here, we're coming up towards a door that I missed a couple of times, just because I never got close enough to the wall for it to appear on my minimap, and I thought it was just a hallway, because that's basically what it looks like when you go through it. And of course, if you look at the wall, you see the door, but it just looks like a slightly wider hallway, which they do a lot in Elysium for some reason. So right here, I believe, there is a door to my right that I'm missing, because it didn't look like there was anything in that room. And this is one of the most frustrating rooms in here, with 4 of these guys constantly dropping those Reaver bots that are on fire. Not only do I have to, make sure I'm not constantly being run into by them, but because of the way the target lock system works, I don't really have a huge choice in what I'm targeting. So I'm just kind of trying to destroy these one at a time, just so that they stop dropping quite so many Reaver bots on me. Because that's what's going to screw me, is being overwhelmed by the Reaver bots just coming over and over and over and over again. And constantly screwing up my lock-on. My only real criticism of these guys is Why do the guys who drop the Reaver bots have so much HP? Like, they can take an insane amount of punishment. If their HP was a little bit lower, because again, I have max attack power on my Buster Gun. My homing missiles still deal somewhat more damage, and homing missiles could be upgraded, I think, one more time for damage. But that upgrade costs 500k, and I didn't really feel like farming that out. You don't have to do much farming in this game, if any at all, to just upgrade like one weapon. Especially towards the end, where they just shower Zenny on you directly before the last boss. And as I get these, I am still gonna try to keep my attack basically at maximum, while keeping my range at a decent amount. But if I can add some rapid, just so I don't have to like do the tapping glitch. So that was a hard cut I just did. I came in from the south part of there, and I opened up the door from the north. Because I looked back and I was like, you know, that's probably not just a hallway if it's that wide. It took me a couple of minutes looking at the map to be like, where have I missed the door? Because it's quite obvious at that point that I'd done basically everywhere I could. I just hadn't, like, mashed my face against the wall until I'd unlocked, or, like, made all the parts of the map visible. And there's more rooms with these guys. I completely despise dealing with these to get to the panels, because every time you have to make it to the panel, these guys respawn. But this one, I think it's just a random room. Was there a door in here? I don't think there was. Yeah, I run around, I'm like, what is this room? It just had those enemies in it. It doesn't appear to have any doors out, aside from the one I came in. This doesn't appear to be a thing. Continue on. High gravity, and then I got more Reaver bots being dropped. And I guess the high gravity doesn't really matter. But again, I change the gravity and I come back to this platform that I'm standing next to. Because I'm like, I feel like they had to be hiding something, right? Because they made it so I couldn't jump up there as I walked through. Like, as I got to this room, they made it impossible for me to jump high enough to get through there. So I felt like they had to be hiding something. And there's a spot where the floor is going to break if I stand on it. I come back and do that in a little bit. Again, I'm looking at that and I'm like, why are they, like, keeping me heavy as I'm coming through here with those platforms? I feel like they have to be hiding something. But they weren't. They're just, I don't know, they're just there. They're like, they just copy-pasted the room, and for some reason, those things are in there. And I enter this room, and I see that line on the floor before the chest. I'm just like, I do not trust that line. Because I'm pretty sure that I have hit those, the things that grab you from the floor multiple times on those lines. It might have happened in parts I cut out, but there was like a room I went into, I think twice, and it had one of those lines there. And so anytime you walked over that line, one of those things would freaking grab you. And I stopped trusting those lines almost entirely. I'm like, why are you there? Are you hiding another one of those things? I'm freaking tired of being grabbed and have my HP get sucked away because I can't do anything. And there's a point of the generosity that they're giving you towards the end. 36,000 zenny. I think there was another one that they give me here before I get to. There's kind of like a boss rush where you fight. I want to say the last. I think you fight all of the key bosses. But right now I can only remember 3 of them. I don't remember if you fight a 4th one. No, it is all 4 of them. The one my brain was forgetting about was the Nino Island ones. They have you fight the guys who spin. That like the 3 guys who spin, only because I drained the water originally in the Nino Island ruins before I got to them. They didn't have their invulnerability phase, but they just have that, even though I don't believe that there's water when you fight them in Elysium. Also, Jesus Christ, that is super cheap to have that guy that immobilizes you and starts sucking your HP away in a room that has enemies in it. I am fighting something, and it just stops me from moving. How is that a fair thing to me? For some reason, I almost missed that door was there when I ran around. But the fact that I have the item data, I saw that there was an item over there. So ultimately, I figured out that there was a door close by without having to actually see the door. And now I've got that map data. It's going to make it far easier to get around now that I don't have to actually look for things. Because it's just all too similar looking, at least to me. Like, it really could use a little bit of diversity. And again, I really hate that anytime you go through one of those doors that has the gravity changing panel, these guys respawn and try to kill you some more. And you can't go through the door because the door is locked until you defeat the enemies. Like, I don't like these. I don't like it when you lock doors just because there are now enemies that you've spawned behind me for no reason other than to put them in my way and make it take longer. That is honestly part of what made Elysium so long, is that you have to go through so many of those doors multiple times so that you can go in there, change the gravity, come back. And this is where I'm like, is there anything up here? No? You guys really? You just have these? They're just in the middle of the room for no reason. Really? Like, I'm looking up. I'm like, is there something up there? No? Seriously? What is the point? Finally continue on. Now that I've gone back and looked at those, and there's nothing up there, which was like the biggest thing I was curious about. Again, if they didn't make it so that you couldn't jump up there immediately before you got there, I wouldn't have thought that they were hiding something. But it's so suspicious that you, like, see it through a door, but the door makes it so that you can't jump high enough to get up there.
Looks like you've made it to the residential area. Does it bring back any memories?
So I do a fair bit of running around here because some of the portals work and some of them don't. And originally I wasn't really paying all that much attention to the map. But there are, I want to say 2 or 3 like hidden chests if you make it to certain platforms behind portals that don't work. So you just kind of walk around the portal and there's a chest behind it once you get to like a dead end kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure I test out a whole bunch of these residential area doors. And it's like, can I go into these? But apparently the doors don't work. Which, you know, I guess first world high-tech problems. I can't open your door with my hand. It only slides open electronically. And it doesn't have any electricity. Now, there's one of the chests. When I saw this, I originally thought it might have been like a mimic or something. But they have some of the better buster parts in them. Two, and 1. It's not a bad piece. Again, once I can start getting some rapid, so that I don't have, like, I haven't been doing it when I run around, but just so that I never have to do the tapping trick to get, like, a high rate of fire. I want to do that because I can just hold it down and run circles, and you kind of need to do that with some of the bigger things. Yeah, they aren't just gonna watch you, like, you know, stutter step forward to get maximum output. Bosses don't just fall over because you dealt a little bit of damage to them. They're gonna come at you until they die. I will say that aesthetically, I do like how the residential area looks, because it is very much different. And I'm already slightly tired of the everything being made out of metal, and those cramped hallways. And here they're just like giant open space portals to go through so that you can make it around. Again, I would be slightly more efficient if I would look at the map, because the map does show you all of the islands. And when you say look at the map and you look at what portals you have available to you, you know which island you're jumping to. You're always jumping to the one that the portal is facing. And your objective here is to make it to the middle, because the middle has the Master's residence, as well as the lift that you couldn't use at the very beginning of Elysium. So it'll take you straight back to not Sarah. I'm blanking on the other one's name now. The portal takes you back to the beginning of Elysium with Yuna. And with Data. Also, Data just kind of appears inside the Master's residence. Again, I don't know what kind of magic Data has, but he always tends to beat you to places that are very difficult to get to. It's just kind of like, yeah, what do you think you're a digger? And another 60,000 zenny. The thing is that you can still leave Elysium and go back to Earth, or they're going to call it Terra, at basically any point until you beat the last boss. And I do actually do that at the very end, just to refill my energy pack, and I also upgrade my armor, because I came here with the 50% damage reduction armor, and I tried to take on the final boss a couple of times, and realized there was no way that was happening with the 50% armor. The 75% armor makes it so much easier, because you take half damage from 50% to 75%. And I went overboard upgrading my energy pack. If you play decently, I would say even if you play just like normally and you only get a couple of energy pack upgrades, let's say you have just enough to use it once, that's enough. You also have the if you found them, you will have the fried chicken from Glide's base, and if you bought the fridge for Roll, you will also have the picnic basket. Both of those are full heals. And so long as you're not going for a higher digger license, there's almost no reason that you should have to have used those. I think I may have used my energy pack a single time so far, and that was on like the boss in Yasyanka, that weird goo thing. Because once it started chasing me down, I was like, oh god, gotta make sure I don't die to the thing moving as fast as me when it like caught up to me once. And the issue is that then it just sits like, the middle of it just sits on you, and what the heck are you gonna do at that point? But as you can see, I am finally utilizing my map to see where I have been, and assuming where I'm trying to go. I do still dislike that, like, I'm not even leaving a map or a zone. The fact that I come back to this island and it just constantly has the Reaverbots respawn doesn't seem particularly right.
That's the building where the Master lived. I'll bet you probably spent a lot of your time there, didn't you?
And as I believe was implied heavily during the cutscenes beforehand, MegaMan was basically the Master's favorite. So you spent a lot of time with the Master in the Master's home, whereas the Mother units, not so much. They were meant to, like, watch over the entirety of Elysium, which I believe is depicted as the moon, and the other one was supposed to watch over the system of Terra, where the Carbons are, or they're artificially created humans in this game. And these guys are back from the part where you're going towards Glide's base with Apo and Da. But I put the refractor back in the lift, which means it is now operational, and I can take it back to the beginning of Elysium. But first, I am going to go, what's in here? And, data. What, huh? I haven't moved the lift yet. How are you here? Yeah, because he even says, I don't know if you've fixed it yet, but it'll take you back to where Yuna is, implying that he just walked here behind me or something. And this was apparently the Master's room. This looks not like a comfortable place to be. I don't know what's going on here.
The gravity's back to normal. Are you ready? Things are going to get a little different from here on. This is it, MegaMan. Good luck.
So the reason things are becoming different, I think there's a couple of enemies maybe in between here, but I'm about to start refacing the bosses. I don't think they happen... Do they happen in order? Because I do know that this was the first one. And just gonna shred it down. if you paid much attention when I fought it the first time, it can eat that flying bug, and it'll get HP back. So you want to avoid that for the most part. I mean, you can destroy it, but it'll... I think it summons more of them, or maybe the ones on the floor just become the flying ones. I'm not entirely sure how that mechanic works. And here I miss out on some damage because I landed and I grabbed the platform. And it's still trying to shoot bubbles at me. Doesn't seem like a very effective strategy. Maybe it should try changing something. So it's only got a couple of hits left, so even though it's gonna flail its tongue at me, I don't really care at that point. It might have hit me once there if I stopped moving. And then they start rewarding me with an obscene amount of zenny for these fights. But the thing is that once you go through here, you have to walk all the way back. And they also have these lifts between the bosses here. But they have, like... I'm pretty sure there's a point where I beat one of the bosses, and there's like 4 hallways. And when I say there's 4 hallways, I mean I open a door and I go through a hallway. I exit that hallway by opening another door, and all it is another hallway. And I'm just like, I don't understand why there's a thing. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, they aren't in order, because this was the last boss before you made it to Elysium. And this time I'm actually going to fight it proper. I'm not just going to stand on this platform as it tries to spew crap at me. I'm going to jump up and run circles so that I can deal some damage. Although I did hit it a couple of times there, I'm not really sure why. Because now I'm hitting the bottom of the platform, as you can see. But yeah, it like regens HP in this phase, which I don't really understand. It isn't really doing anything to regen HP. It's just like, oh, it's regenning. In fact, I think during that phase it makes less than no sense that it's regenning, because it's like constantly spewing goo at me. It looks like it's literally spitting its body at me, but it's regenning HP. This time I'm actually gonna get up there. I'm like, I'm just gonna deal as much damage as possible this time. Try and make the last phase as short as possible. Because when it's chasing you in that phase, you can't deal damage to it. So you want to spend as little time dealing with that last phase as possible. Because now I just have to run. That's it. I just run until it runs out of energy. And because I landed on the floor right before the end of the other phase, I am on fire. And I got it before I got a second part of that phase. Thank God, because I don't want it chasing me down like that again. It's terrifying. That sounds like a terrible sound effect for that. So I've still got the that giant dog with the weird head thing, and the 3 like flower things spin. The giant dog thing is really no harder than it was. In fact, I would say it's easier in Elysium, because it's not surrounded by lava at all. I guess that when you go to finally take it down, it's not surrounded by lava at that point either, once you've gotten rid of its invulnerability. yeah, I'm like, why are there so many hallways? Just let me fight things. So here I come in.
Gravity's increased again. I wonder who will turn up next.
I don't really know why they increased gravity for this. I guess to simulate water? I don't know. Although you can jump higher in the water, so... But for the most part, the strategy here is just, I'm gonna kill one of them at a time. So I'm just gonna ignore the fact that it's invulnerable, and I'm just gonna keep shooting it until it's not. And then I'm gonna go for getting rid of them one at a time so that they stop spewing so many of those yellow, like, spore shots at me. Because the fewer of those I have to dodge, the better. So there's no reason for me to be constantly swapping targets. It just leaves me more vulnerable for longer. But I mean, this is basically how the fight goes if you've got water in that room. They occasionally start spinning faster, and for some reason that makes them invulnerable to your buster. You just start deflecting the shots for whatever reason. But it is how I would have done it if I had the water.
It looks like defeating that Guardian restored the gravity to normal.
You know, I would have been running around a little bit slower, but whatever. And again, like, the absurd amounts of Zenny they reward you with for those boss fights, I don't completely understand it. Here I'm going to use the last of the energy canteen I have. But before I get to the last boss, like the last boss of the game, not the dog boss, I do go back, I recharge it, and I buy like 10 more upgrades to it. I don't use them because I'm fighting the last boss, and I go, well, at least I got chicken, and I eat my fried chicken. Again, like if you explore a little bit as you're playing the game, you would have found those items. Buying things for roll. If you get her like all of the gifts, she lowers the cost of upgrading things, I think by 10% in the development room, so it ends up being worth it if you want to upgrade certain weapons. For instance, if you want to upgrade the homing missiles to have like the last couple of upgrades, I think they're both like 540k or something like that. So you save over 100k between those two alone. And you spend, I want to say it's like 300 or 400k on all the gifts. So if you're a completionist, it's better to do the gifts and then upgrade stuff afterwards. At this point, I'm literally like, I'm going through the hallways and I'm looking left and right because I'm like, there's no way it is just an empty hallway, right? There isn't just another empty hallway. There are a lot of empty hallways. I went through that hallway, and now I'm in another hallway. This one turns, though. I was kind of looking down there like, can I see anything interesting down there? Not really. And that hallway led to this hallway. And now I'm finally at the end of the hallway. This is the library where Sarah is waiting for you. The library contains the genetic code of humans. It's up to you, Mega Man. Do you obey the system or destroy it? Save the game, recharge my life and my weapon energy.
Well, you've made it. You've reached the library. That's where the carbon reinitialization program is executed from, and where you can stop it. Destroy the system or defend it. It's your choice, MegaMan. I can't tell you what to do.
This unit will attempt to infiltrate Mother's logic circuits. There is no guarantee as to how effective such an action will be, but it should impair Mother's reaction time to some extent. This unit's powers are limited, but it shall assist you as much as possible.
The library is shielded against any and all transmissions. I won't be able to help you anymore. Good luck, MegaMan.
So, I played the cutscene my first time through, so, like, right as the cutscene ends is when I cut to the boss fight that is successful.
Carbon reinitialization program has been paused, awaiting order to continue from other unit. Execution of carbon reinitialization program has been paused, awaiting order to continue from other unit.
Paused?
Execution of carbon reinitialization program has been paused, awaiting order to continue from other unit. Execution of carbon reinitialization program has been paused, awaiting order to continue.
I have been waiting for you, MegaMan Trigger. I could have executed the carbon reinitialization program at any time, but I chose not to. Do you know why? Unlike you, I cannot act against the system. I can only act within the parameters it defines for me. Indeed, I cannot think of anything beyond the system's limits. That is why I cannot comprehend what could have motivated the Master to attempt to destroy the system. I am jealous of you. You were close to the Master. You understood his thoughts in a way I will never be able to. Yuna chose to remove herself from the system, even though she is, like myself, Mother Unit. I cannot do that. I've waited for you, whom the Master loved. Perhaps by defeating you, who is so sympathetic to the Master's desires, I can purge myself of these troublesome emotions. Come then, MegaMan Trigger. Show me what a first-class purifier is capable of.
So, all in all, my biggest issue with this, like, first phase of the fight is how infrequently she is vulnerable to being hit, because she constantly teleports. And when she's charging at you, you're basically just supposed to be dodging. I can get a couple of hits in, and that's it. She has an attack where she, like, increases gravity, ground pounds to make the shockwave, and also summons some weird boxy things that start coming towards you. But because she's increased gravity, you're slow. So they would catch up to you. But you can destroy them in one shot if you have max attack power. And you only destroy them in one shot if you have max attack power. But I'm just like, I want to be fighting her, but all she's doing is teleporting. And I have not figured out a foolproof way to dodge that yellow beam attack thing that she just did. Like, I can usually dodge the first one, but then I'll get hit by the second one, even if I, like, change directions partway through. And that is her most damaging attack that she has in this phase, because this is still a 2-phase fight. You will almost always likely have to heal at least once as you're going through this, especially if you have an A-class or an S-class license, because it increases the amount of HP that the boss has and the amount of damage they deal. And I end up healing twice between both phases, but that is only because I am being greedy in the second phase, and I'm trying to continually attack her, and she starts doing certain things that are very hard to avoid when you're locked on.
do not understand. A servitor unit such as GAD should be unable to disobey the system's commands. Still, a mother unit like myself is superior to a servitor unit. His sabotage attempts are a distraction, nothing more. When last we struggled, you imprisoned me on Terra. Perhaps this time, it will be you who is imprisoned. Shall we continue?
And I am going to change from my minimum range, max rapid, or I guess I don't have max rapid, but the highest rapid I could get with max attack, to a higher range so that I can hit her. The thing that I wish that was somewhat different about the first phase of that fight is I basically wish it was more like the first phase of the last boss in MegaMan Legends 1. There was some teleporting around in the first phase of that fight, but there were very specifically telegraphed attacks where, say, they would appear in the middle and they would stay there as they cast abilities that were hard to dodge, but if you could dodge them while attacking, you would get a decent chunk of damage off. But it's just, like, the first phase of this fight, they spend way too much time, in my opinion, just constantly teleporting away from you. And in this phase, once she catches up to you with these lasers, I don't know what you're supposed to do, because she starts off kind of slowly spinning, but eventually she just starts spinning as quickly as you can run in a circle. So how am I supposed to avoid that at that point? And then I didn't realize I was fighting the butterfly in Dark Souls with that laser attack. I didn't see that attack coming. That was very odd to me. And now she's gonna start dropping meteors on me, which it took me a second to realize what was going on. Since I've been playing so much Final Fantasy XIV, I should have seen those markers on the ground and been like, oh, I'm in trouble. Gotta get away. But I think she does this like 2 or 3 times in a row, and I don't understand what happened with this fight this time around. She shoots some kind of, I don't know, black hole at me, and then she goes back to dropping the meteors, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like, she isn't really fighting me, in my opinion, at this point. That one actually just completely sucks me into it for some reason, whereas the other one didn't do that. And this is basically why I end up having to heal a second time, because I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, why did that thing just completely suck me in with the first one? Like, what happened with the first one? And, there's where I'm like, well, at least I got chicken. I still have, if you saw, another 14 charges of the energy canteen, and 10 is full HP. But there are a ton of cutscenes, and I recommend sitting through the credits, because there's a very hilarious one at the very end of the game. And this is gonna be me signing off for the end of this. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Whenever the Master looked at me, I detected a sadness in his eyes. The more I obeyed the system and tried to serve the Master, the sadder he seemed. Now, Trigger, thanks to you, perhaps the Master will also smile at me as he did at you.
Sarah!
At last, I understand. Thank you, Trigger. Thank you.
Sarah!
Don't think you're going to get off that easily, Sarah. You were always too stubborn for your own good. If we have a shell, we can transfer your primary programs over, right? Gats is dead. He died because of your gamble. If you die as well, who will be left to keep me company? You can't fool me. I know you can hear me. Still going to ignore me? Then let me tell you something. Now that Elysium is no longer functioning, the old system the Master's people shut down has started to reactivate. It was your responsibility to monitor it. If you die and it takes over, the Master's work was for nothing. Do you want that?
Do you mean to say that the Elder System is becoming active again?
There are remnants of that system buried all over Terra in what the Carbons call ruins. There's so many, even I don't know how many there are. I doubt they'll be fully active soon, but eventually they will. If we don't do anything, just imagine what will happen to Terra and all its people. If the Elders and their machines activate, what will your sacrifice here have been for? What do you say, Sarah? Are you up for living with the people the Master left behind? Could be a little wild, but interesting.
Perhaps it might be worthwhile.
I can't remember the last time I saw you smile, Sarah.
I'll think about it once we figure out a way to return to Terra.
That's a very good point, Sarah. So, what are we going to do, MegaMan? If we can't get back to Terra, then I can't give Roll her mother back.
Is that the only thing you're worried about?
Don't worry, Yuna.
Why?
I know Roll. She'll come looking for us, no matter what happens.
seconds to ignition. Is everything ready? Southwestern wind, speed 1 knot. Should be little to no interference. Fuel pressure stable. All workers to the shelters. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off!
That. Go! Keep going! Oh, that's the 10th time we've tried. Maybe we should just give up. I got all excited when I heard that what's-his-name, the monkey, came back from outer space and was going to give us ancient technology. But it just doesn't seem to live up to all the hype.
Going to the stars. A task not easily undertaken. There's bound to be difficulties.
Yes, but it looks like they're on the right track to me.
I think this system was too complex. We need to keep things simpler. That way, less things can go wrong.
But if we build it this way, it will cost too much. If we take existing parts and put them together this way... See? Just look at how much money we can save.
I think if we modify the fuel injectors like this, it just might solve the problem.
It's really simple! Really simple! If you would just listen to me, I could show you. See? Look here!
You stay out of this, Data! We need to make the cargo hold smaller. We can save space and make it lighter that way.
It doesn't matter! With this new amazing engine I designed, we will have more than enough power.
Your engine? I'd believe you if your engines weren't made from spare parts and needed to be adjusted every 5 minutes.
Not everybody has tons of money to build your kind of engine.
If you don't use the proper
Sorry, MegaMan, but it looks like you might be stuck up there for a little while more.
Looks like we both got our work cut out for us.
How dare you? Anyway, I wonder how MegaMan's doing.
We have to get this thing working so we can go get him.